I'm going on a business trip with my boss. Don't contact me, my wife said calmly as she grabbed her suitcase. I wished her luck, then I wished her boss's wife a happy birthday and sent a gift along with it. I'm Matthias, 35 years old, and for 8 years I thought I knew my unfaithful wife better than anyone. Carolina was always ambitious, dedicated to her career in marketing, and I admired that about her. She worked long hours at the Innovair Media Agency, rising quickly to become an account director. Her boss, Rodrigo Salazar, a 42-year-old man married to Adriana, was the one who constantly congratulated her for her exceptional work. That Thursday afternoon, Carolina came home with a different energy. Her eyes shone in a way I hadn't seen in months, maybe years. She took off her high heels by the door and walked to the kitchen where I was making dinner. Pasta with bolognese sauce, her favorite dish. "Honey, I have incredible news," she said, leaving her purse on the dining table. "Rodrigo chose me to accompany him to the Digital Marketing Conference in Cancun next week. It's a huge opportunity for the agency and for my career." I looked up from the pot I was stirring. "That sounds fantastic. Caro, how many days will you be gone?" 5 days, from Monday to Friday." She came closer and wrapped her arms around my waist. "I know it's a long time, but this conference could open incredible doors for us. There are international clients who only attend this event." "Sure, I understand," I replied, kissing her forehead. "It's a great opportunity." What Carolina didn't know was that 3 weeks earlier I had found something on her phone that changed everything. It wasn't intentional. She had left her phone unlocked on the bed while she showered, and a notification lit up the screen. It was a message from Rodrigo. "I can still taste your lips. I can't wait to have you again." My world stopped at that moment. My hands trembled as I unlocked the phone and went into her messages. What I found was devastating. Months of explicit conversations, intimate photos, secret plans. The marital betrayal extended for weeks, maybe months. Every message was a stab. "My husband is working late. Come home. The way you touch me drives me crazy. I wish we could be together all the time." But what shocked me the most was a message from Carolina to Rodrigo. "Sometimes I feel like Matthias is so predictable. With you, I feel alive again. He'll never find out. He's too trusting. Too trusting." Those words stuck in my mind like needles. I took screenshots of everything, every compromising conversation, every photo, every plan. I saved them in a hidden folder on my own phone and in the cloud. Then I deleted my access history and placed her phone exactly where I had found it. That night, when Carolina came out of the bathroom wrapped in her robe, she acted as always. She kissed me, asked about my day, snuggled next to me on the couch while we watched a series. I kept my composure, smiled, answered, acted like the trusting husband she thought I was. But inside something had changed. It wasn't pain I felt. Not yet. It was clarity, a cold, calculating clarity that allowed me to see the situation from the outside. I could have exploded, confronted her, made a scene, but something stopped me. I wanted to understand the full extent of her marital betrayal before acting. For the next 3 weeks, I observed every detail. I noticed how Carolina dressed up more when she knew she would see Rodrigo, how she constantly checked her phone, moving away when a message arrived, how her late-night work meetings increased in frequency. Once she said she had a dinner with clients, but her real-time location that we had shared for years placed her at a downtown hotel. I waited up until she arrived at 2 in the morning with her hair slightly messy and smelling of a cologne that wasn't mine. "How was dinner?" I asked from the darkness of our room. She flinched. "God, you scared me." "Good, productive. The clients are demanding, but I think we'll close the deal." "I'm glad," I replied. "You must be exhausted. Get some rest." I also investigated Rodrigo Salazar. It wasn't hard. Social media are open windows into people's lives. Rodrigo had been married to Adriana for 15 years. They had 2 daughters, Camila, 12, and Sofia, 9. His Facebook profile was full of seemingly perfect family photos. Beach vacations, birthdays, school festivals. Adriana worked as a nurse at San Rafael General Hospital. Long, difficult shifts, according to her occasional posts about the exhaustion of the healthcare system. But there was something more interesting. Adriana's birthday was on May 23rd, exactly 3 days after the supposed work trip to Cancun began. And according to the screenshots I had taken from Carolina's phone, she and Rodrigo had planned to extend their stay an extra day to enjoy the beach. Just the 2 of us. That's when my plan formed. It wouldn't be explosive or immediate. It would be calculated, precise, and above all, fair. Because if I had learned anything in these 8 years of marriage, it was that discovered lies have weight, and that weight can be used as leverage. On Friday night, a week before the trip, Carolina was particularly affectionate. She cooked my favorite dish, stuffed peppers with rice, and opened a bottle of red wine we had saved for a special occasion. "I want you to know how much you mean to me," she said during dinner, taking my hand across the table. "I know I've been very busy with work, but everything I do is for our future together." The irony was so thick I could almost touch it. I squeezed her hand and smiled. "I know, love, and I'm proud of you. This trip will be important for your career. Thanks for being so understanding." Rodrigo sighed. He says some husbands get jealous with these work trips. "I'm not one of those," I replied calmly. "I trust you completely." Her eyes lit up with something that could have been relief or maybe disguised guilt. "You're the best husband in the world, Matthias." That night, as she slept soundly beside me, I stayed awake staring at the ceiling. The fan spun slowly above us, producing a constant hum that filled the silence. I wondered at what exact moment our relationship had become this farce. Was it gradual? Was there a specific moment where Carolina decided I wasn't enough? Monday arrived with its usual routine. Carolina woke up early, anxious, and visibly excited. I watched her as she packed her suitcase, carefully choosing each piece of clothing. I couldn't help but notice she was packing new underwear, pieces I had never seen before, sets of black and red lace that she definitely hadn't bought to wear at marketing conferences. "Ready for your big adventure?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe of our room. "More than ready," she smiled, zipping up the suitcase. "I'm going to miss you so much." "I'll miss you too." I lied with the ease I had developed in these weeks. "But you'll be so busy that time will fly." At the airport, I walked her to the check-in area. Carolina kissed me intensely, as if she wanted to convince me or maybe convince herself of something. "I love you," she whispered against my lips. "I love you too," I replied. "Have a great trip." "And Carolina," I paused, letting the tension build for a second. "Good luck with everything." Something crossed her face. It was guilt. Nervousness. It vanished quickly. "Thanks, love. I'll call you when I land." I watched her walk away, dragging her suitcase without looking back. When she disappeared into the crowd, I took out my phone and looked for the contact I had saved 3 days ago. The name simply said Adriana Salazar. I dialed the number. It rang 3 times before a slightly tired female voice answered. "Hello, Adriana." "Hi, my name is Matthias Torres. I'm the husband of Carolina Mendez, the account director who works with your husband Rodrigo at Innovair Media." There was a pause. "Yes, I've heard of Carolina. Is something wrong?" "Nothing bad," I replied in a calm voice. "I was just calling to wish you a happy birthday in advance. I know it's on May 23rd, and I wanted to make sure to congratulate you before I forgot." Another pause. This one longer. "That's very thoughtful of you, Matthias." "Thanks. You're welcome. I also wanted to ask, will Rodrigo be home for your birthday?" Carolina mentioned they have a work trip to Cancun this week. The silence on the other end of the line changed in quality. It was no longer just a pause, but an absence filled with understanding. A work trip. Adriana's voice had become very controlled, too controlled. "To Cancun?" "Yes, a digital marketing conference from Monday to Friday." Carolina was very excited about the opportunity. "I understand," Adriana said. And in those 2 words, I could hear that she understood much more than I had explicitly said. "Matthias, is there anything else you think I should know?" I said carefully, "that maybe you should talk to Rodrigo about his plans for this week. And if you need additional information, I have some documents that might be useful to you, screenshots, messages, that sort of thing." The silence stretched between us, heavy with meaning. "Can you send me that?" she finally asked. "Of course. I'll send it to you by email." "What's your address?" She gave it to me, and before hanging up she added, "Matthias, I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry for you too, Adriana, but I think it's better to know the truth than to live in half-discovered lies." "You're right." She sighed. "Thanks for calling." I hung up and stayed in the airport parking lot, watching planes take off and land. On one of those planes was Carolina, flying towards what she thought would be a perfect week with her lover. She had no idea of the storm that was brewing on the ground. That night, from my computer, I sent Adriana everything I had collected, every compromising message, every photo, every detail of their perfect revenge plan that involved lying to their respective partners to prolong their affair. It wasn't easy to review everything again. Every word was a reminder of my own naivety, but it was necessary. Carolina called as promised when she landed. We arrived safely. The hotel is beautiful, right in front of the sea. I'm glad. I said, "Are you at the conference already?" "It starts tomorrow. Today was just registration and the welcome dinner." "Sounds perfect. Enjoy your dinner." "I miss you," she said, and it almost sounded sincere. "Me too." The next few days were strange. Carolina called every night telling me about the presentations, the contacts she was making, the opportunities she was identifying. I listened, asked the right questions, acted like the supportive husband. But every night after hanging up, I sat in the darkness of our living room, wondering how much of what she told me was true and how much was just part of her elaborate lie. Adriana and I exchanged a few messages. She had confronted Rodrigo with the evidence. According to what she told me, he first denied everything, then downplayed it. Finally, he admitted but asked for forgiveness. He promised he would end everything, that it was a mistake, that he loved his family. Did you believe him? I asked her in a message. She didn't reply. The plane tickets to Cancun were in his email. The hotel reservation in both their names. Everything you sent me was true. He's there with her right now, probably thinking he got away with the confrontation. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but thanks for giving me the truth, Matthias. Not everyone has that courage. On Wednesday night, Carolina sounded particularly happy on her call. Today was incredible. Rodrigo introduced me to several directors of international agencies. I think when we get back, I'm going to have much better job offers. That's wonderful, love. How are things over there? Quiet. Working, watching series, the usual. I love you, Matthias. Thanks for always supporting me. Always, I replied. And this time it wasn't a complete lie. I had always supported her. That was precisely the most painful betrayal. On Thursday, Adriana called me. Matthias, I need you to know something. I hired a private investigator. I gave him the hotel information and he got photos. They're sharing a room, not separate rooms, as Rodrigo swore to me. A single room, a single bed. I'm sorry, Adriana. Don't apologize. You gave me the truth. Rodrigo gave me lies. Now discovered thanks to you. She paused. Do you know what's most painful? It's not just the infidelity, it's the ease with which he lied. The way he looked me in the eyes and swore that nothing had happened, that you were misinterpreting everything. That Carolina was just a colleague. I know exactly what you mean. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. My lawyer already has everything ready. I want Rodrigo to come home from his work trip and find the papers waiting for him. Sounds fair. And what are you going to do when Carolina comes back? That was the question, wasn't it? I had spent weeks planning this moment, mentally preparing for what was to come. But now that it was close, I felt a mix of anticipation and sadness. I'm not sure yet, I admitted, but I know I'm not going to keep living this lie. Friday was the last day of the conference, but according to the messages I had seen, Carolina and Rodrigo had planned to stay until Saturday to enjoy the beach together. Carolina called me on Friday night. Honey, something came up. There's an opportunity to meet with a very important client tomorrow who's only available that day. Do you mind if I come back on Saturday night instead of Friday? The lie was so fluid, so well rehearsed. I wondered how many times she had practiced those words before calling me. Of course I don't mind. Your career is important. You're the best, Matthias. I promise I'll make it up to you when I get back. Don't worry about it. Enjoy your last day of work. I hung up and looked at my phone for a long moment. The manipulative boss and my unfaithful wife thought they had won. They thought Adriana and I were the trusting fools who would never discover the truth. But lies have a short life when someone decides to expose them to the light. That night, I prepared everything for the next day. I took the suitcases out of the closet and started packing Carolina's clothes. Not with anger, but with a mechanical efficiency that surprised me. Every piece of clothing I folded represented a memory, a moment that was once real, or maybe it was always an illusion. The dresses she wore on our dates, the blouses I had given her on past birthdays, the pajamas she wore on lazy Sunday mornings. Everything went into the suitcases. When I finished, it was 3 a.m. I sat on the edge of our bed, now just my bed, and waited for the sun to rise. Saturday dawned with a clear sky that contrasted with the storm that was brewing. I got up early, made coffee, and checked my phone. Adriana had sent me a message at 6 a.m. The papers are ready. The lawyer will deliver them to his office first thing Monday morning. Thanks for everything, Matthias. Let's keep in touch. I replied, count on it. All the best for what's to come. I spent the morning organizing the final details. I called my sister Elena, the only person I had confided in about the situation. She had wanted to come immediately when I told her 2 weeks ago, ready to confront Carolina, but I asked her to wait. Are you sure you want to do this today? She asked me on the phone. I can be there in an hour. I'm sure. And no, I prefer to do it alone. But thanks, Matthias. I know you think you have to be strong all the time, but it's okay to feel pain. It's okay to be angry. I know, I replied, although I wasn't sure if I felt any of those things. Rather, I felt a strange emptiness, as if I were observing my own life from the outside. I'll call you later. Okay, please do. I love you, little brother. At 2 in the afternoon, Carolina sent a message. Meeting ended earlier than expected, leaving the hotel for the airport. See you in a few hours. I missed you so much. I looked at the 3 suitcases by the front door. They were filled with everything Carolina had brought into our shared life over these 8 years. Clothes, shoes, beauty products, some books, framed photos of her alone or with her friends. Interestingly, there were very few photos of us together. Had it always been like that, or was I just noticing it now? While I waited, I reviewed the screenshots I had saved one last time. One message in particular caught my attention, one I had overlooked before. It was from 6 months ago, from Carolina to Rodrigo. Matthias is a good man, but he's so boring, predictable. He always does the right thing, always says the right thing. With you I feel alive, excited. It's like comparing black and white to bright colors, boring, predictable. The words echoed in my mind. Maybe she was right. Maybe it was boring to be loyal, to be honest, to be the husband who worked hard and came home every night. Maybe it was predictable to think that wedding vows meant something. But what Carolina didn't understand was that being predictable didn't mean being stupid. At 6:30 in the evening, I heard the Uber stop in front of the house. From the window, I saw Carolina get out, dragging her suitcase with that particular glint in her eyes of someone who had just spent days doing exactly what she wanted, without consequences. She was wearing a white summer dress I didn't recognize, probably bought during the trip. Her skin was slightly tanned. She opened the door with her key, dropped the suitcase in the entrance, and called out to me. Matthias, I'm home, love. I came out of the living room and saw her there smiling, with her arms open waiting for a hug. For a moment, just a moment, I felt a pang of nostalgia for the woman I thought she was, but that woman never really existed. Hi, Carolina, I said without moving towards her. Her smile faltered slightly. Aren't you going to welcome me? I missed you so much. Your suitcases are ready by the door. I pointed to the 3 suitcases I had prepared. The color drained from her face. What? What are you talking about? I'm talking about your stay in this house being over. I need you to take your things and leave. She dropped her purse to the floor. Matthias, what's going on? Is this some kind of joke? It's not a joke. I know everything about your affair with Rodrigo. I've known for almost a month. I saw the exact moment panic replaced confusion in her eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. Rodrigo is my boss, nothing more. Carolina, please, I said tiredly. Don't insult my intelligence more than you already have. I have screenshots of every message you exchanged. I have photos. I have evidence that you shared a room in Cancun. I know everything. She swayed slightly, looking for support against the wall. Matthias, I can explain. I don't want explanations. I want you to take your things and leave. Where am I supposed to go? Her voice went up an octave, panicking. Frankly, that's not my problem. Maybe Rodrigo can help you. Although I doubt his wife Adriana will be very receptive to that right now. His wife. What does she have to do with it? Oh, he didn't mention it. Adriana knows everything. In fact, she and I have been in contact all week. I sent her all the evidence of their marital betrayal. She's filing for divorce on Monday. Carolina slumped to the floor. Her legs could no longer support her. No, Matthias, please. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I love you. If you loved me, you wouldn't have spent months sleeping with your boss. If you loved me, you wouldn't have written messages describing me as boring and predictable while planning your next date with him. Tears began to stream down her cheeks, but I didn't feel the compassion she probably expected. I only saw a woman who had played with my trust and was now facing the consequences. Matthias, please, can we go to therapy? I can change. It will never happen again. You're right about one thing. It will never happen again. Because there won't be an us for it to happen again too. You can't do this. Her voice became desperate. This is my house too. I've lived here for 8 years. Check the property documents. The house is in my name. I bought it with money from my inheritance before we got married. Legally, I can ask you to leave. She stood up unsteadily. You're a monster. How can you be so cold? The question was almost comical coming from her. I'm the monster. I'm the cold one. Carolina, you're the one who spent months cheating on me. You're the one who planned a romantic trip with your lover, passing it off as work. You're the one who wrote that you considered me boring while I worked to give you a comfortable life. It was the thrill of the moment. I wasn't really thinking, but you did it for months. It wasn't an impulse, Carolina. It was a decision you made over and over again. Every time you sent him a message, every time you planned to meet, every time you looked me in the eyes and lied, my phone rang. It was a message from Adriana. Rodrigo just got home, found the papers. He's in total shock. He's calling me, begging to talk. How are things over there? I replied quickly. Similar. Carolina is here. She's not taking it well. Carolina saw that I was sending messages. Are you talking to her? To Adriana. Yes, it turns out we have a lot in common. We were both betrayed by the people we trusted most. This is surreal, she muttered, running her hands through her hair. An hour ago, I was on the plane thinking about what it would be like to come home to you. Thinking about what I would tell you, how I would tell you about the trip. More discovered lies, I suppose. It wasn't all lies. The conference was real. The contacts I made were real, but the main reason for the trip wasn't the conference, was it? It was to spend time with Rodrigo without the hassle of having to hide. She didn't answer, confirming what I already knew. Take your suitcases, Carolina. I'm not going to repeat myself. Give me a few days, please. Just to find a place to stay. You can stay in a hotel, you have a job, you have an income, you can handle it. I lost my job. She blurted out suddenly. I stopped. What? Well, I'm going to lose it as soon as Adriana makes this public. As soon as the agency finds out that Rodrigo and I, she left the sentence unfinished. You know how these things are. Office policy, inappropriate relationships with superiors, they'll fire me. You should have thought of that before. You're cruel, Matthias. I never thought you could be so cruel. I'm not cruel, Carolina. I'm fair. There's a difference. Cruel would be what you did to me for months, making me believe we had a marriage while you were sleeping with another man. Fair is asking you to face the consequences of your actions. She bent down and picked up one of the suitcases. Her movements clumsy and disorganized. What about the divorce? The legal papers. My lawyer will be in touch with you next week. I've documented everything, including your infidelity. Don't expect much from the settlement. After 8 years together, is this all I get? 3 suitcases and a kick out the door? You got 8 years of loyalty, honesty, and love. I got betrayal. I'd say you came out ahead. She dragged the first suitcase to the door, then came back for the second. On her third trip, she stopped in front of me. Did you ever really love me? The question took me by surprise every day of our marriage. Then how can you do this? Precisely because I loved you. I know I deserve better than this. I deserve someone who loves me back with the same intensity and loyalty. She took the last suitcase at the door. She turned one last time. Rodrigo and I. It's not going to work now, is it? His wife is going to leave him. He's going to lose everything, and so am I, probably. Was that your plan all along? To destroy both our relationships. I didn't destroy anything, Carolina. You two did that all by yourselves. I just made sure the truth came to light. Discovered lies have consequences. She left without another word. From the window, I watched her struggle with the 3 suitcases, trying to call an Uber with trembling hands. It took 20 minutes until the car finally arrived, and she was gone. I watched the taillights disappear in the distance. The house was silent, strangely silent. I sat on the couch where just a few days ago Carolina had told me she would miss me, where we had watched series together, where we had planned futures that would now never exist. My phone rang. It was Elena. It's over. Yes, she left a few minutes ago. How do you feel? Honestly, I don't know. Empty, I guess. Relieved, but empty. That's normal. Do you want me to come over? No. Tonight, I just need to process everything. I understand. But Matthias, listen to me carefully. Don't doubt your decision. What you did was right. She gave you no choice. I know. Do you really know? Because I know you and I know you're the type of person who's going to start questioning if you were too harsh, if you could have handled this differently. Maybe I will, but for now, I just know I couldn't keep living a lie. After hanging up with Elena, I received another message from Adriana. Rodrigo is begging. He says he's going to sue you for interfering in his marriage, for defamation, for whatever his lawyer can come up with. I just wanted you to know. I replied, let him try. I have evidence of everything. The truth isn't defamation. How did you handle the conversation with Carolina? I asked her to leave. She did. End of story. That's simple. That's simple. And Rodrigo is staying at a hotel. I told him not to come back to this house. The girls are confused asking, where's Dad? I don't know what to tell them yet. I'm sorry, Adriana. I know this is more complicated for you with the girls involved. Don't apologize. I'd rather they know the truth now than continue living in a lie. My daughters deserve to see an example of a mother who doesn't tolerate disrespect. That night, I stayed up late looking at photos on my phone. There were hundreds of Carolina and me over the years. Our wedding, a simple but beautiful event in my parents' garden. Beach vacations where we both looked tanned and happy. Birthdays, anniversaries, Christmases. In every photo, I looked genuinely happy. In many of them, Carolina seemed to be too. At what point did it stop being real for her? Was it gradual, or was there a specific moment where she decided I wasn't enough? I probably would never know, and maybe that was for the best. I deleted every photo, one by one. It was like erasing 8 years of my life, but it was necessary. I couldn't keep clinging to memories of something that was never real, at least not in the way I thought. On Sunday, I spent cleaning the house from top to bottom. I changed the bed sheets, washed the curtains, rearranged the furniture. I wanted to erase any trace of Carolina, any reminder of the life I thought we had. In the closet, I found a shoebox full of keepsakes, movie tickets from our dates, postcards we had sent each other when I traveled for work, little love notes she used to leave for me on the bathroom mirror. I threw everything in the trash, not with anger, but with a kind of quiet resignation. My mother called in the afternoon. Carolina had contacted my parents crying, telling them I had kicked her out for no reason, that I was being cruel and irrational. Matthias, what's going on? My mother asked with genuine concern. Carolina is devastated. She says you kicked her out of the house. Mom, Carolina was unfaithful to me for months. I have proof of everything. I confronted her and asked her to leave. Silence. Are you telling me the truth? Have I ever lied to you? No, never. She sighed heavily. Oh, son, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you tell us? Because I needed to handle it my way, and I didn't want you to try to convince me to give her another chance, or to go to couples therapy, or any other well-intentioned but misguided thing. Your father is going to want to talk to you. That's fine. But Mom, I need you to understand something. My decision is made. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to forgive this. It's final. I understand, and if that's what you need, I support you completely. You're my son, and I'll always be on your side. That night, as I was getting ready to sleep for the first time in my now officially empty bed, I received a message from an unknown number. Matthias, it's Rodrigo. We need to talk. This has gotten out of hand. We can reach an agreement, resolve this like civilized adults. I wrote and deleted several replies before finally typing. We have nothing to talk about. Your relationship with your wife and your mistress is not my problem. Just make sure your lawyer communicates with mine for any legal matters. Don't contact me directly again. You ruined my life. He replied almost immediately. My family, my job, everything. I hope you're proud of yourself. I didn't ruin anything. You did when you decided to have an affair with an employee. I just made sure the right people knew the truth. The consequences are yours, not mine. You're a vengeful, manipulative boss who can't accept that his wife found something better. That line made me laugh, a humorless laugh. If having an affair with a married man who lies to his family is something better, then I guess you're right. Good night, Rodrigo. I blocked him before he could reply. The following week was a succession of events that unfolded like dominoes falling one after another. On Monday morning, while I was having coffee before going to work, I received a message from Adriana. The papers were delivered. Rodrigo received them in his office in front of several colleagues. According to his secretary, he came out of the boardroom completely pale. I couldn't help a small smile. The perfect revenge didn't require shouting or scandals, just the quiet exposure of the truth at the right time and place. How are you? I replied, better than I expected. The girls are confused, but I told them the truth in an age-appropriate way, not the sordid details, but that Dad made decisions that hurt the family, and that sometimes adults make mistakes that have big consequences. It sounds like you're handling it incredibly well. I don't have a choice. I'm all they have now. Rodrigo has become a pathetic version of himself, sending me messages every hour begging for another chance. But I've already made my decision. At my job, I tried to maintain normality. I'm a systems engineer for a tech company, and fortunately, my personal life didn't interfere with my professional responsibilities, but my closest colleagues noticed something different about me. Are you okay, Matthias? My cubicle mate, Daniel, asked during lunch. You look, I don't know, different. Carolina and I separated over the weekend. His eyes widened. What? You guys seem like the perfect couple. We seemed, I emphasized, but it turns out appearances can be deceiving. Do you want to talk about it? The short version is she was cheating on me with her boss for months. I found out, gathered evidence, and on Saturday, I asked her to leave the house. Daniel dropped his fork. I can't believe it. Carolina always seemed so, I don't know, dedicated to you. That's what I thought too. But people are good at hiding their true intentions when they want to. That afternoon, my lawyer, Gustavo Herrera, called me for a meeting. His office was downtown, a modern space overlooking the main avenue. Matthias, I've reviewed all the evidence you sent me, I said, arranging several documents on his desk. You have a solid case for a fault-based divorce. The infidelity is clearly documented. How long will the process take with this evidence? Probably 6 to 8 months. It could be faster if Carolina agrees to everything without a fight, but based on my experience, people rarely do. What about the division of assets? The house is in your name, purchased before the marriage with your inheritance, so it's completely yours. The car you drive is also in your name. She has her own vehicle in her name. The joint bank accounts will be divided according to what each of you contributed. And I have the bank statements that show you contributed approximately 70% of the funds, and she can fight for more. She can try, but the documented infidelity works strongly against you in terms of financial settlements. Most judges are not sympathetic to the unfaithful party, especially when the evidence is so clear. Good. Is there anything else? Gustavo leaned forward. I received a call from Rodrigo Salazar's lawyer. Apparently, they're considering a lawsuit against you for malicious interference in his marriage and possible damage to his professional reputation. I leaned back in my chair. How serious is that? Not very serious. The truth is an absolute defense against defamation. You didn't invent anything. You just shared factual information with his wife. And as for interference in the marriage, it's almost impossible to prove legally, especially when he was the one having the affair. It's an intimidation tactic, nothing more. Should I be worried? No. If they file anything, we'll dismantle it easily, but honestly I doubt they'll go that far. Rodrigo has too much to lose if this becomes even more public. I left Gustavo's office feeling more secure. Legally, I was covered emotionally. Well, that was another story. That night Carolina called me. It was the first time we had spoken since she left on Saturday. I hesitated before answering, but I finally did. Hello, Matthias. Her voice sounded hoarse, probably from crying so much. I need to talk to you. We have nothing left to talk about, Carolina. Please, just listen to me for 5 minutes. I owe you at least a real explanation. Against my better judgment, I agreed 5 minutes. Thank you. She paused, taking a deep breath. There's no excuse for what I did, I know, but I want you to understand how it happened. Does it really matter? It does to me, Rodrigo and I. It started about a year ago. I was working late on a big project, very stressed. He was also staying late. We started talking, venting to each other about work, life. It felt good to have someone who understood that pressure. I understand work pressure, Carolina. I worked 70 hours a week for 2 years when my company was launching the new software. I never cheated on you. I know. I'm not trying to justify it. Just one night we worked very late, ordered food, shared a bottle of wine he had in his office, and then it happened. And after that first time, you could have stopped. You could have come home and confessed, but you didn't. No, because I liked how it made me feel, excited, desired, alive. And I know that hurts you to hear, but it's the truth. With you, everything was so stable, predictable, there wasn't that spark of adrenaline. So you destroyed our marriage because you were bored, not when you put it that way. What other way is there to put it, Carolina? You got bored of stability, of fidelity, of having a husband who came home every night, who paid the bills, who supported you in your career. So you found excitement and discovered lies and betrayal. Matthias, Please, can't we try to fix this? I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. You know what's the saddest thing, Carolina? It's not that you cheated on me. It's that even now on this call where you're supposedly giving me a real explanation, you still don't really understand what you did wrong. You're still trying to make me understand your reasons, as if understanding why you did it somehow makes it less devastating. I'm trying to be honest with you. Too little, too late. Your time is up. My lawyer will be in touch with you about the divorce papers. That's it. 8 years together, and it just ends like this. It didn't end like this. It ended when you decided to sleep with your boss. I'm just formalizing what you already destroyed. I hate you. She blurted out suddenly. I hate you for being so cold, for not giving me a chance, for ruining my life. Interestingly, I hated you for a while too, but now I just feel nothing. And that's worse, don't you think? The opposite of love isn't hate, Carolina, it's indifference. And that's all I feel for you now. Total indifference. I hung up that she could reply. The following weeks brought more revelations. Through Adriana, I learned that the affair between Carolina and Rodrigo had been an open secret at the office. Several employees had noticed their long business lunches, their frequent trips together, the way they looked at each other during meetings. There's a girl in HR, Adriana told me in one of our phone conversations that were becoming regular. She contacted me directly, said they had received informal complaints about the inappropriate relationship between Rodrigo and Carolina, but since Rodrigo was the director, no one dared to make a formal complaint. And now, with the divorce and everything being public, the board of directors is investigating. Apparently, the company has strict policies about relationships between supervisors and subordinates. Rodrigo could lose his position. What will happen to Carolina? She's already resigned or was forced to resign, depending on who you ask. Her reputation in the industry is ruined. I've heard she's applying for jobs out of town, trying to start over where no one knows the story. Part of me felt a pang of something, not exactly pity, but perhaps recognition that the life of someone I once loved was collapsing. But then I remembered the messages, the lies, the ease with which she had betrayed me, and that pang disappeared. My sister Elena came to visit me one Saturday afternoon. 3 weeks after Carolina left, she brought homemade food, lasagna with salad, knowing I probably hadn't been eating well. You look terrible, she said bluntly as she put the plates on the table. Thanks, Elena, always so diplomatic. I'm serious. Are you sleeping? Eating? Enough of both. Matthias, it's okay not to be okay. You went through something horrible. You don't have to pretend to be strong all the time. I'm not pretending. I'm honestly better than I expected to be. I feel more like myself than I have in a long time. Really. It's like for all these months, maybe, I was living with this uneasy feeling that something wasn't right, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was. Now I know what it was, and although it hurts, at least it's real. The truth hurts less than a lie disguised as love. Elena studied me for a moment. You know what? I believe you. You were always the one who processed things internally. Dad used to say you were like a pressure cooker, everything contained inside, until you found a healthy way to release it. And Mom, what does she say? She's worried. She wants to come visit, but I told her I'd give you space first. Do you want her to come? Not yet. Tell her I'm okay, that I'll call her soon. While we ate, Elena told me she had seen Carolina at the supermarket a few days ago. She looked terrible, Matthias, really terrible. Unwashed hair, no makeup, wrinkled clothes. She saw me and literally ran in the opposite direction. How does that make you feel? I don't know. Part of me thinks she deserves it. Another part remembers when we were happy, or at least I thought we were happy, and it feels weird to see someone you knew so well fall so low. The problem is you never really knew her. Elena observed. You knew the version of her she wanted you to see. The unfaithful wife was hidden all the time beneath the surface. That night, alone at home, I checked my phone and found that Carolina had sent me several messages during the day. I hadn't noticed them because I had silenced her notifications. Matthias, please, let's talk. I need some things from the house. Can I come by to pick them up? My family wants to know what's going on. What do I tell them? I miss you. I know I have no right, but I miss you. Why aren't you answering me? Is this how things are going to be now? After 8 years together, you just ignore me. I wrote a single reply. Carolina, everything you needed from the house was in the suitcases I packed. If there's anything more specific, send me a list and I'll send it to you. As for your family, tell them the truth. And yes, this is how things are going to be. You need to move on, and so do I. Please respect that and stop contacting me, except through our lawyers. The reply came immediately. You're heartless. The Matthias I knew would never have been so cruel. The Matthias you knew trusted you. But that Matthias died the day I found your messages with Rodrigo. This Matthias has learned to protect himself. There was no reply after that. One afternoon, while working from home, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. Matthias Torres. Yes. Who's speaking? My name is Patricia Vega. I'm a colleague of Carolina ex-colleague. Now do you have a moment to talk? It depends on what about. Look, I know you probably don't want to talk about Carolina, but I feel like you need to know something. Carolina is telling everyone that you kicked her out for no reason, that you were abusive, that you made up the story of the affair because you were jealous of her success. I closed my eyes, feeling a wave of frustration. Of course she is. I don't believe her. I worked with her for 3 years. I saw how she and Rodrigo looked at each other. Everyone in the office knew what was going on, but I wanted you to know that she's trying to change the narrative, painting herself as the victim. I appreciate you telling me, Patricia, but honestly, whether people believe her or not is no longer my problem. I have evidence of everything. The truth eventually comes to light. You're right. I just thought you should know, and for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Many people would have stayed, would have tried to make it work, but some betrayals are just unforgivable. That night Adriana called me. We had developed a strange friendship based on our shared experience. Rodrigo moved in with his brother. She told me. He finally accepted that I'm not going to change my mind about the divorce. Now he's trying to negotiate custody of the girls. How are they? Camila, the oldest, is angry with her father. She understands more than he thinks. Sophia is confused. She constantly asks when Dad is coming home. It's heartbreaking. I'm sorry, Adriana. I really am. You know what's ironic? Rodrigo still doesn't really understand what he did wrong. He keeps saying things like it was just sex, it meant nothing. You're the one I really love. As if that somehow makes the marital betrayal less painful. Carolina says similar things, as if the depth of feeling behind the betrayal is what matters, not the act itself. Exactly. And the worst part is they genuinely seem to believe it. They're not acting. They really think their feelings justify their actions. Have you thought about what you'll do after all this is over? I want to go back to school. I left college when I got pregnant with Camila. I always wanted to be a pediatric nurse practitioner. Maybe it's time to pursue that. That sounds amazing. And what will you do? Honestly, I don't know yet. For now, I'm just focusing on getting through each day. Eventually, I guess I'll start rebuilding. Maybe travel, meet new people, remember who I was before Carolina came into my life. We both deserve that, a new beginning. After hanging up, I sat in silence for a long time. The house no longer felt as empty as it did in those first nights after Carolina left. It was starting to feel like my space, not our space. And that, surprisingly, felt good. 2 months after Carolina left, I received an unexpected call from Gustavo, my lawyer. Matthias, we need to meet as soon as possible. There's been an interesting development in your case. I arrived at his office that same afternoon. Gustavo had several documents scattered on his desk and an expression I couldn't quite decipher. Carolina signed all the divorce papers without a fight. He announced. She accepted the division of assets as we proposed. She didn't ask for alimony. Basically, she caved on everything. Why would she do that? Because Gustavo slid a document towards me. She's desperate to finalize this quickly, and I think I know why I read the document. It was a lawsuit filed by 3 former Innova Media employees against Rodrigo Salazar and the company, alleging sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment. The plaintiffs' names had been redacted in the copy they showed me, but the accusations were specific and detailed. Carolina is involved in this, not directly in the lawsuits, but her name appears in several testimonies as a witness to Rodrigo's inappropriate behavior with other female employees. Apparently, the relationship between them wasn't as unique as they both wanted to believe. I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me felt strangely vindicated. Evidence that Rodrigo was exactly the kind of manipulative boss I had suspected. Another part felt a deep sadness for Carolina, who had destroyed her marriage for a man who turned out to be even worse than I imagined. What does this mean for our process? It means we can finalize the divorce in the next 6 weeks if everything proceeds as planned. Carolina is cooperating fully, probably because she doesn't want to prolong something that could draw more attention to her involvement in this whole situation. I left Gustavo's office with conflicting feelings. I had wanted this ending. I had worked towards it, but now that it was so close, I felt a strange sense of anticlimax. 8 years of marriage, reduced to signed papers and division of bank accounts. That night Adriana called me. Her voice sounded more lively than it had in weeks. "Did you see the news about Rodrigo? My lawyer showed me the lawsuits. It's worse than those lawsuits show. An investigative reporter is writing a full article on the toxic work culture in the marketing industry. Rodrigo is going to be the main example. The magazine comes out next week. How do you feel about it?" Relieved, honestly. Now people will understand why I left him. I wasn't the bitter wife who couldn't forgive a slip-up. He's a systematic pattern of abusive and manipulative behavior. And the girls, we're in family therapy. It's hard, but necessary. Camila is starting to process her anger in a healthier way. Sophia still asks to see her father, but I'm working with the therapist to set appropriate boundaries. You sound stronger every time we talk. I feel stronger. It's strange, but this horrible experience is showing me what I'm capable of. I never thought I could handle being a single mom, working full-time, studying, and navigating a complicated divorce. But here I am, doing it all. You should be proud of yourself. I am. And Matthias, I want to thank you. I know it sounds strange, given how we met, but your honesty saved my family from years more of discovered lies. My daughters deserve to know the truth about their father before it was too late. After hanging up, I thought about what Adriana had said. Saved her family. I had never thought about my actions that way. For me, it had been about justice, about exposing the truth, about the perfect revenge, maybe. But for Adriana and her daughters, it had been about protection. The following week, the article about Rodrigo was published. It was devastating. 10 women, including the 3 who had filed formal lawsuits, shared their experiences working with him. The pattern was clear. Rodrigo used his position of power to manipulate young female employees, making them feel like their professional success depended on keeping him happy. Carolina wasn't named directly, but anyone who read between the lines could identify her in the descriptions of the account director who maintained a prolonged relationship with Salazar while he simultaneously harassed other female employees. My phone exploded with messages, friends who had read the article and connected the dots, family members expressing support, even some of Carolina's former colleagues asking if I was okay. Elena showed up at my house that night unannounced with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "I read the article," she said, walking in and going straight to the kitchen. "Do you need a drink? It's not even 6 p.m. Normal rules don't apply today. Sit down." We sat in the living room, and Elena poured 2 generous drinks. "So, your unfaithful wife not only cheated on you, but she did it with a serial predator. Apparently, how do you feel?" "I don't know." Vindicated, sad for Carolina, angry at her for being so blind, all at the same time. It's okay to feel all of that. You don't have to choose just one emotion. What bothers me, I said after a long drink, is that Carolina had so many opportunities to see who Rodrigo really was. According to the article, the inappropriate behavior was known in the office. She saw it, she knew it, and she still chose to have a relationship with him. Some people see the warning signs and ignore them because they want to believe their own narrative. Carolina wanted to believe she was special, that her connection with Rodrigo was different, more meaningful than his interactions with other women. Do you think she regrets it now? Probably, but the regret that comes only after the consequences are public isn't real regret. It's just regret for getting caught. 2 days later, I received an email from Carolina. It was long, detailed, and had clearly been written and rewritten multiple times before being sent. "Matthias, I know you don't want to hear from me, and I respect your request to communicate only through our lawyers, but after the article, I feel I owe you this. You were right, about everything, about Rodrigo, about me, about the decisions I made. I read the article and felt sick, not because I was mentioned indirectly, but because I recognized every pattern the other women described. I saw them, I witnessed them, and I convinced myself that with me it was different. You know what's most pathetic? Even after everything blew up, after losing my job, my reputation, after you kicked me out, I still had this fantasy that maybe Rodrigo and I could be together once the dust settled. I thought maybe this was fate clearing our path, but after the article, after talking to some of the women he manipulated, I realized I was never special to him. I was just convenient. An ambitious employee who was willing to believe his lies because it suited my ego to believe I was different, better than the others. I destroyed the only real thing I had in my life for an illusion. You were real, Matthias. Our marriage was real, and I traded it for the thrill of something that was never more than smoke and mirrors. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand the magnitude of what I did. I didn't just betray you. I betrayed myself. I became someone I don't recognize, someone I don't respect. I signed the divorce papers without a fight because it's the least I can do. You don't deserve any more pain or complications from me. You deserve to be free of this, of me. So you can move on and find the real happiness I couldn't give you. I hope you can forgive me someday, not for me, but so you can close this chapter completely. Carolina, I read the email 3 times. There was a part of me that had wanted to hear exactly this, a full admission of guilt, an acknowledgement of the damage caused, but now that I had it, it felt empty, as if the words came too late to change anything. I didn't reply. Some things don't require a response. The following week, Gustavo called me with final news. The judge signed the papers. Your divorce is official as of today. That's it. That's it. Legally, you are no longer married to Carolina Mendez. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. I should feel something big, I thought. Relief, sadness, closure. But what I felt was more subtle, as if a weight I had been carrying for so long that I no longer noticed it had finally been lifted. That night, I called my parents to give them the news. My mother cried, not from sadness exactly, but from that kind of crying that comes when something difficult is finally over. Are you okay, son? My father asked. Yes, Dad. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. What will you do now? Live my life. Finally, 2 weeks after the final divorce, Adriana invited me for coffee. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown, far from where either of us used to frequent. My divorce was finalized yesterday, she told me, stirring her cappuccino. How do you feel? Free, scared, excited, all mixed together, she smiled. But mostly free. I understand exactly what you mean, Matthias. I wanted to meet you to thank you properly. I know I've said it before, but I want you to understand how important what you did was. You didn't just give me information, you gave me the power to make an informed decision about my life and my daughter's lives. I just told you the truth, which is more than many people would have done. You could have focused only on your own pain, on your own situation, but you thought of me, of my family, of the discovered lies I needed to face. How are the girls? Better. Camila is starting to understand that the divorce wasn't my fault or hers. Sophia still has difficult days, but she's adapting. They're both learning that sometimes adults make mistakes, and that it's okay to walk away from situations that hurt you. Those are important lessons, they are. And they're learning from my example now, seeing their mother be strong, set boundaries, not tolerate disrespect is the best gift I can give them. We talked for over an hour, sharing updates on our lives, our future plans. When we finally said goodbye, Adriana hugged me. You're going to be okay, Matthias. We're both going to be okay. I know, I replied. And for the first time since I found those messages on Carolina's phone 4 months ago, I really believed it. That night, alone in my house, which no longer felt empty, but simply mine, I opened a bottle of wine and sat on the back patio. The sky was clear, full of stars I rarely stopped to observe. I thought about everything that had happened, about how a phone call to wish Adriana a happy birthday had triggered a series of events that changed multiple lives. I thought about Carolina, probably somewhere rebuilding her life from scratch, facing the consequences of her choices. I thought about Rodrigo, whose career and reputation were destroyed, facing lawsuits and public judgment. But mostly, I thought about myself, about who I was before all this, who I was during the betrayal without knowing it, and who I was becoming now. The man I had been, the one who trusted blindly and believed in the permanence of love, was dead. The man I was during those months of discovery, gathering evidence and planning my response, had also disappeared. The man I was now was someone new, more cautious perhaps, but also stronger. Someone who knew how to set boundaries, who wouldn't tolerate disrespect, who valued honesty above comfort. My phone vibrated with a message from Elena. How are you? Good. I replied. Really good. Plans for tomorrow. Nothing specific. Why? I'm going to introduce you to a friend. It's not a date, just an introduction. She's a photographer, travels a lot, has incredible stories. I thought it would be interesting for you to meet new people. I hesitated for just a second before replying. Sounds good. Send me the details. I wasn't ready for a relationship. I probably wouldn't be for a long time, but I was ready to start living again, to meet new people, to remember that the world was bigger than my pain, wider than my betrayal. The perfect revenge, I realized, hadn't been exposing Carolina and Rodrigo. That was just justice. The real revenge was this: refusing to let their marital betrayal define me, to allow their deceit to turn me into someone cynical or bitter. The perfect revenge was to heal, to grow, and eventually to be happier without them than I ever was with them. I raised my glass to the starry sky in a silent toast to endings that are really beginnings. To the truth that hurts, but liberates. To the strength I didn't know I had, until I had no choice but to find it. And above all, to the phone calls that change everything, even when you're just wishing a happy birthday to someone else's wife. 3 months after my divorce was finalized, life had taken on a rhythm I didn't anticipate. It wasn't the lonely, depressive existence that maybe some people expected, nor was it a constant celebration of recovered freedom. It was something more nuanced, more real. Elena's friend, Lucia Ramirez, turned out to be exactly what I needed at that moment. Someone with no connection to my past, no preconceived judgments, just an interesting person with fascinating stories. She was a travel photographer, and in our first meeting, we spent 3 hours talking about places she had visited, cultures she had documented, the way her camera captured moments that words could never fully describe. I've never really traveled, I admitted during that first conversation in an artisanal coffee shop she had chosen. Carolina hated the idea of going to places without 5-star hotels, and I was too busy working to insist. And now? Lucia asked, her dark eyes studying me with genuine curiosity. What's stopping you? I guess nothing. Then you should go. Not tomorrow, not next year, soon, before you find new reasons to stay still. Her words stayed with me. A week later, I booked a ticket to Peru. 2 weeks of hiking through Machu Picchu, something I had wanted to do since college, but had always postponed for one reason or another. Elena almost fell out of her chair when I told her. You, Mr. Plan 6 months in advance, is going to travel alone to South America in 3 weeks. Apparently so. I love this version of you. She smiled, though I'm a little worried. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Besides, Lucia is giving me contacts for local guides she knows. I'm not going to do anything dangerous. But before that trip, there was something else I needed to do. One Thursday afternoon, I drove to the other side of the city to a neighborhood I knew well but hadn't visited in months. I stopped in front of a modest 2-story house with a well-kept front garden. Adriana's car was in the driveway. I had arranged this visit in advance. I didn't want to show up unannounced and cause any discomfort. When I knocked on the door, it was Camila who opened it. The 12-year-old girl looked at me with initial curiosity that quickly turned to recognition. You're Matthias, she said, the husband of the woman Dad. Camila. Adriana's voice came from inside. Let him in. I entered a house that spoke of family in a way mine never had. Photos of the girls on the walls, Sophia's drawings stuck to the fridge. School backpacks by the door. It was messy in the way real homes are messy, lived in, and authentic. Matthias, thanks for coming. Adriana appeared from the hallway, drying her hands on a kitchen towel. The girls wanted to meet you. Sophia, 9 years old, peeked shyly from behind her mother. She was smaller than I expected, with her hair in 2 braids. Hi, she said softly. Hi, Sophia. Nice to meet you. We sat in the living room, the girls on one couch, Adriana and I in opposite chairs. There was an initial awkward silence until Camila, with the characteristic bluntness of preteens, broke it. Mom says you helped our family by telling her the truth about Dad. Camila. Adriana started, but I held up a hand. It's okay. I turned to the girl. Your mom deserved to know the truth. Everyone deserves to know the truth, even when it hurts. Are you angry at Dad? I was angry. Now I'm just. It's complicated. I'm angry at him too, Camila admitted. Mom says I shouldn't be, that he's my dad and he made mistakes, but he ruined everything. Our family, his job, everything. You can be angry and still love him, I told her. Both things can be true at the same time. Sophia, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Is your wife angry at you too? The question took me by surprise. I'm not married to her anymore. We got divorced. Because of what she did with our dad. Yes. Do you miss her? I considered the question carefully. I missed the person I thought she was, but that person never really existed, so I guess I missed something that was never real. The girls processed this in silence. Adriana shot me a grateful look for my honesty. After a while, the girls went to their room to do homework, leaving Adriana and me alone. "Thanks for coming," she said. "I know it's strange, but the girls had so many questions about you. You've been this mysterious figure in their lives, the man who changed everything." "I don't know if I changed anything. I just revealed what was already there." "That's exactly what changed everything." She leaned forward. "Matthias, there's something I need to tell you. Rodrigo contacted me last week. He wants to come back?" My stomach tensed. "What did you tell him?" "I told him no, that door is permanently closed, but I thought you should know he's in a desperate situation. He lost his job. He's facing multiple lawsuits. His reputation is destroyed, and apparently, Carolina left him completely once the article came out." Carolina left him. According to Rodrigo, yes, she told him she had risked everything for him, and he turned out to be exactly the kind of man she had always despised. Ironic, isn't it? I guess even Carolina has some standards, even if they came late. Rodrigo told me something else, that you were the catalyst for everything, that if you hadn't called that day, none of this would have happened. That makes me the villain in his story. In his twisted mind, probably yes, but in reality, you're the hero of mine. Adriana took my hand briefly. "Thanks, Matthias, for your courage to do the right thing when it would have been easier to do nothing." That night, driving back home, I thought about Rodrigo's words, the catalyst. I guess it was true in a sense. A simple phone call to wish a man's wife a happy birthday had triggered a cascade of consequences that none of us could have fully anticipated, but I didn't regret it for a second. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Lima, Peru. It was my first solo international trip, and I felt a mix of nervousness and excitement as the plane took off. For the next 14 days, I walked through ancient ruins. I chatted with locals in my broken Spanish. I took photos with a camera Lucia had helped me choose. I tasted food I had never imagined existed. Every day, I felt a little lighter, as if every kilometer walked was taking away a piece of the weight I had carried for so many months. At the top of Machu Picchu, surrounded by tourists taking selfies and guides telling historical stories, I had a moment of clarity so intense it almost made me cry. I was standing in one of the most breathtaking places in the world, something I would never have done if Carolina hadn't betrayed me. Her infidelity, as painful as it was, had freed me from a life of compromises and postponed dreams. I took out my phone and took a photo of the mountainous horizon, not to post on social media, not to prove anything to anyone, just for me, to remember this moment when I doubted myself again. When I returned home, I found that things had continued to unfold in my absence. Gustavo sent me an email informing me that Rodrigo had tried to sue me for defamation and interference in his marriage, but the case was dismissed almost immediately. The judge had apparently said that the truth was not defamatory, no matter how inconvenient it was for the plaintiff. Elena met me at the airport with a big hug. "You look different," she observed, studying my face. "Different how? I don't know." "Lighter, as if you finally let go of something heavy." "Maybe I did in the car." On the way home, Elena filled me in on the gossip I had missed. Carolina moved to another city. I heard she got a job at a small agency using a different last name, trying to start over where no one knows her story. I hope it works out for her. Elena looked at me surprised. Seriously, I don't wish Carolina any ill will. I just don't want her to be a part of my life. There's a difference. And what about Lucia? She sent me photos of you in Peru. You look very friendly. We're friends. Good friends. Just friends. For now, yes. I'm not ready for anything more. And she understands that. But it's nice to have someone in my life who doesn't know anything about my past, who just sees me as I am now. The next few months passed in a sort of comfortable routine. I worked, spent time with family and friends. Occasionally, I went out with Lucia to photography exhibitions or cultural events. Slowly, without noticing exactly when it happened, I stopped thinking about Carolina daily, then weekly, then not at all. 6 months after my divorce, I was at a dinner with friends when someone casually mentioned they had seen my ex-wife at the supermarket. It took me a second to register who they were talking about. Carolina had become such a distant memory that ex-wife no longer immediately brought her to mind. How did she look? I asked more out of courtesy than genuine interest. Thin, tired, she was alone. I felt a pang of something. Not pity exactly, but perhaps a recognition of a shared humanity. Carolina was living with the consequences of her choices, just as I was living with mine. The difference was that my choices had led me to a place of peace, while hers apparently had not. One night, I was organizing my closet when I found a box I had pushed to the back months ago. Inside were the last of Carolina's things I hadn't thrown away, her college yearbook, some jewelry she had left behind, love letters she had written to me in the early years of our relationship. I read them out of curiosity. These letters from a woman who professed eternal love while planning her marital betrayal. The words sounded hollow now, empty of meaning, but as I read them, I realized something important. They no longer hurt me. The pain had been replaced by indifference, and then even the indifference had faded, leaving only a neutral acknowledgement that these things had happened to another person at another time. I threw the letters away without ceremony. I didn't need to burn them dramatically or tear them up in a rage. I simply placed them in the recycling bin and continued organizing. That night, Adriana sent me a text message. The girls are asking when you'll visit again. They want to show you their science projects. I smiled. Of all the unexpected things that had resulted from this situation, my friendship with Adriana and her daughters was the most surprising and valuable. Saturday works, I replied. Life, I was realizing, had a strange way of balancing itself out. For every betrayal, there was a truth revealed. For every painful ending, there was an unexpected new beginning. For every person who disappointed you, there was another who surprised you with their integrity. And sometimes all it took to start that balancing process was a simple phone call to wish someone a happy birthday. A year after that call, that changed everything. I found myself sitting in the same backyard where I had toasted to new beginnings. But this time, I wasn't alone. Lucia was beside me, showing me the photos from her latest project in Bolivia, and Elena had brought her husband and their 2 kids for a family barbecue. Uncle Matthias, is it true you went to Machu Picchu? My 8-year-old nephew asked, his eyes shining with admiration. It's true. And next year your Aunt Lucia and I are planning to go to Thailand. Elena shot me a significant look that clearly said just friends. Huh. But she didn't say anything out loud. The truth was Lucia and I had naturally evolved from friends to something more over the past few months. There was no grand romantic declaration or a definitive moment. Just a gradual, comfortable progression into something that felt right without being forced. Don't rush it, my therapist, someone I started seeing after the divorce, had told me. There's no right timeline for healing or for loving again. There's only your timeline. My phone vibrated with a message from Adriana. The girls got an A on their science project. Camila says it was thanks to your advice on programming. Thanks for being a part of their lives. I showed the message to Lucia, who smiled. You've built a very unusual family for yourself. I guess I have. I like that about you, that you didn't let the betrayal make you cynical. Many people would have closed their hearts completely. I was close, I admitted. There were days when all I wanted was to isolate myself, convince myself that all people were potential liars, and that trusting someone was stupid. What stopped you, Adriana and her daughters? Actually, seeing Adriana rebuild her life with such grace. Seeing Camila and Sophia learn to trust again despite what their father did. If they could do it, so could I. That night, after everyone had left, Lucia and I stayed behind, cleaning up together in a comfortable silence. She washed the dishes while I dried. A simple domestic routine that felt profoundly peaceful. Do you ever regret how you handled everything? She asked suddenly. With Carolina and Rodrigo, I mean. I could regret many things, not seeing the signs sooner, trusting too easily, but I don't regret exposing the truth. Discovered lies deserve to see the light. Do you know anything about her now? Just what I hear occasionally through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, she's slowly rebuilding her career. I heard she's in therapy too. Does that change anything for you? No, I'm genuinely glad she's seeking help, but that doesn't change what happened or mean there should be a place for her in my life. Lucia dried her hands and turned to me. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. When you look at me, do you ever see Carolina? Do you ever worry that I might do the same thing? The question was valid and honest. At first, yes. The first few months after the divorce, every time I met someone new, my mind immediately looked for signs of deception, red flags I had missed with Carolina. But my therapist helped me understand that I can't live my present life through the lens of my wounded past. So you trust me? I'm learning to trust again. It's not automatic like it used to be, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, trust is something I build consciously instead of something I give blindly. She nodded, satisfied with the answer. That's fair and healthy. 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected email. It was from Carolina. Matthias, it's been over a year since we last spoke. My therapist has been helping me process everything that happened, and part of my healing process includes making peace with my past. I don't expect you to reply to this, and I certainly don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know that I finally fully understand what I did. Not just the infidelity, but all the small betrayals that preceded it, the way I took you for granted, the way I minimized your feelings, how I let my ambition and my ego convince me that I deserved something more exciting than the stability and genuine love you offered me. Rodrigo and I haven't had contact for almost a year. The last time we spoke, he was still blaming you for ruining his life. I couldn't be around someone so incapable of accepting responsibility for their own actions. Ironic, considering how long it took me to accept mine. I'm living in another city now, working for a small agency under my maiden name. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. My colleagues don't know anything about my past, and for the first time in a long time, I'm building relationships based on who I am now, not on who I was or who I pretended to be. I've thought a lot about that day when you called me to wish Adriana a happy birthday. For so long, I thought you were cruel for doing it, for exposing everything so calculatedly. But now I understand it wasn't cruelty, it was justice. And more than that, it was self-love. You loved yourself enough not to accept less than you deserved. I hope you found happiness, Matthias. I hope you found someone who values what you have to offer in a way I never knew how to. You deserve that, and so much more. With deep regret and sincere wishes for your well-being. Carolina, I read the email twice. There was a part of me, a small part, that had waited for this acknowledgement for so long. But now that I had it, it felt less significant than I had imagined. Her regret was real. I could feel it in her words, but it didn't change anything fundamental. I wrote a brief reply. Carolina, I appreciate your honesty, and I'm glad to hear you're working on yourself. We all deserve a chance to grow and change. I wish you the best on your healing journey, Matthias. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't holding a grudge either. It was simply closing a door gently instead of slamming it. I showed the exchange to Lucia that night. She read it carefully before speaking. How do you feel? At peace, I think. There's no more anger. No desires for perfect revenge. Not even satisfaction at her regret. Just peace. That's beautiful, Matthias. You know what's funny? This whole situation started with a simple, almost impulsive phone call. At that moment, I didn't know the consequences it would have. If you had known everything that was coming, all the pain and complication, would you still have done it? And well, you would have, without hesitation, because yes, there was pain, but there was also truth. And the truth, however painful, is always better than living in a lie. 6 months later, Lucia and I were in a night market in Bangkok eating pad thai from a street vendor and laughing at our attempts to communicate in basic Thai. It was our 10th day in Thailand, and every experience felt like discovering a new part of myself that had been dormant for years. I have something to tell you, Lucia said, suddenly getting serious. My stomach tensed instinctively, a residue of my past that would probably never completely disappear. What's wrong? They offered me a 6-month project documenting indigenous communities in the Amazon. It's an incredible opportunity, but it means being away for a long time with limited communication. That sounds amazing, Lucia. Why do you seem worried? Because I don't want you to think I'm abandoning you. I know you're sensitive about that after Carolina. I took her hand. Lucia, you pursuing your passion and your career is not abandonment. It's exactly who you are, and it's one of the things I admire most about you. Go, take the most incredible photos you've ever taken. I'll be here when you get back. Are you sure? Completely sure. The difference between you and Carolina is that you've always been honest about who you are and what you want. There's no deceit, no marital betrayal disguised as ambition, just honesty. She kissed me, and in that noisy market on the other side of the world from where it all began, I felt the last piece of my broken heart finally heal completely. When we returned from Thailand, I found another message from Adriana. This time it was a formal invitation. Camila was graduating from middle school early due to her excellent grades, and she wanted me to be at her ceremony. You've been an important figure in her life this past year, Adriana explained when I called her, especially in her academic development. The fact that a systems engineer took the time to help her with programming when her own father was absent means a lot to her. The ceremony was emotional. Seeing Camila, who a year ago was an angry child dealing with her parents' divorce, now standing confidently receiving academic honors. It was a powerful reminder of human resilience. After the ceremony, Camila approached me, her gown still on. "Matthias, I want to thank you." "For what?" "For teaching me that doing the right thing sometimes means doing the hard thing. For showing Mom that she deserved to be treated with respect. For proving that men can be honest and trustworthy." She paused. "I know my dad wasn't any of those things, but you were. And that helps me believe that when I'm older, I'll find someone like you, not like him." I had to blink back tears. "You're going to do amazing things, Camila. You already are." That night driving home, I reflected on the path of the last year and a half. It had started with a devastating betrayal, a strategic phone call, and a series of events that destroyed 2 marriages and multiple lives as we knew them. But from those ruins, something new had grown. Adriana had found her strength and was raising resilient daughters. I had rediscovered who I was without the weight of a marriage built on lies. Even Carolina, by her own words, was working on becoming a better version of herself. And Rodrigo, the manipulative boss whose arrogance had started this cascade, was facing the consequences of years of abusive behavior. I didn't feel pleasure in his downfall, but I didn't feel pity either. Actions have consequences, and he was finally paying for his. My phone rang. It was Lucia, calling from her apartment where she was packing for her trip to the Amazon. "Are you having second thoughts about me leaving?" she asked. "None, but I'm going to miss you." "I'm going to miss you too. But, Matthias, there's something I want you to know before I go." "What is it?" "I love you." Not in the way Carolina said she loved you. With empty words while doing the opposite. "I love you in the way love is supposed to be. Honest, respecting who you are, celebrating your strengths, and accepting your wounds." My throat closed with emotion. "I love you too, Lucia. And when you come back in 6 months, I want us to talk about our future together. Not marriage necessarily, not yet, but a future, one that we build consciously, with honesty and mutual respect." "I'd love that." After hanging up, I sat in my car for a long moment, letting the emotions wash over me. Gratitude, love, peace, hope, all mixed into a complex but fundamentally positive feeling. 2 years ago, if someone had told me that my unfaithful wife would betray me with her boss, that I would respond by strategically exposing them, that I would lose my marriage but gain an unexpected extended family, a new perspective on life, and eventually find real love, I wouldn't have believed it, but here I was, living exactly that reality. The perfect revenge, I finally realized, was never about destroying Carolina or Rodrigo. It was about building a life so good, so authentic, so full of real connections, that their betrayal became nothing more than a transitional moment, a painful but necessary bridge between who I was and who I was destined to be. When I got home that night, there was a package waiting for me on the doorstep. It was from Adriana. Inside was a framed photo from Camila's graduation with the whole family, including me, smiling together. On the back, Adriana had written for Matthias, who taught us that family isn't always blood, but those who choose to stay when the truth gets hard. Thank you for being family. With love and eternal gratitude, Adriana, Camila, and Sophia. I placed the photo in my living room next to photos of my parents, Elena and her family, and Lucia. My blended family, not by biology or marriage, but by choice, honesty, and mutual respect. And as I got ready for bed that night, I thought one last time about that phone call I had made a year and a half ago, wishing a happy birthday to the wife of a man I didn't even know. A simple call, extraordinary consequences, and in the end, a life that was worth more than any marriage built on lies could have ever offered. Because it turns out that sometimes the best revenge isn't making those who hurt you suffer. It's building a life so full, so authentic, so beautiful, that their betrayal becomes the catalyst for your own transformation. And that, finally, is exactly what I had done. Have you ever faced a betrayal that over time led you to discover a better version of yourself? Have you had to make difficult decisions that in the end led you to a better place? I'd love to read your story in the comments. If this story resonated with you in any way, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining me on this journey to the end.